When my friend left for drinks, I thought I'd just be waiting at his place. But the way his mom looked at me, like she'd been waiting for something else entirely, changed everything. Starts simply, a casual evening plan between friends. He's heading to Daniel's house, expecting laughter, games, maybe a few hours of music before calling it a night. But when the door opens, it isn't Daniel standing there. It's her, Evelyn. She looks surprised at first, then smiles, a quiet, graceful smile that lingers longer than politeness requires. She's wearing a soft cream sweater, sleeves pushed just below her elbows, hair pulled back loosely, strands falling in ways that don't feel accidental. The scent of something warm drifts from inside, cinnamon or vanilla, and he suddenly feels out of place, like he's stepped into someone's private world. "Daniel's not home yet," she says, brushing her hair back with a delicate motion. "He ran out for a few things. But come in, please, he shouldn't be long." Her tone isn't demanding, just kind, practiced. The voice of someone who's been hosting guests her whole life. But there's something else beneath it, a soft weariness that only someone who pays attention could notice. He steps inside. The house feels lived in. Framed photos line the hall, faint music hums from another room, and the warm light spilling from the kitchen gives everything a golden hue. She offers tea, insists really, and he accepts mostly to fill the silence. They sit across from each other at the kitchen table. The ticking clock seems louder than it should. She asks about work, about life, and he's surprised how easily the conversation flows. She laughs. Not the bright, performative laugh of someone being polite, but a real one, low and genuine. Her eyes are a deep brown, thoughtful, the kind that make you feel like she actually sees you when she looks your way. He finds himself talking more than usual, about plans, small failures, things he doesn't usually share. And every time he pauses, she listens, not with pity or amusement, but with care. When she stands to pour more tea, her hand brushes his shoulder lightly as she reaches past him for the sugar jar. It's nothing, just an ordinary touch. But it stays with him longer than it should. He notices details he shouldn't. The faint line at the corner of her mouth when she smiles. The way her voice softens when she says his name. The small sigh when her laughter fades, as if joy is something she only allows in short moments. He tells himself not to overthink it. She's just being kind. But something in the air feels different. Too calm, too quiet. When his phone buzzes, he checks it. A message from Daniel. Running late. Maybe an hour. He looks up. Evelyn meets his eyes with a smile that's both apologetic and amused. "Guess it's just us for a while, then." He nods, unsure why his heart skips at the thought. The night has barely started, yet it already feels like something's quietly shifted, like a line has been drawn in the softest way possible. The text from Daniel comes just as the clock ticks past 8. "Running late, bro. Just one drink. Be there soon." He stares at the message for a second before setting his phone face down on the table. When he looks up, Evelyn is already watching him with that calm, knowing expression. The kind only older people wear, a mix of patience and quiet amusement. "Let me guess," she says softly, stirring her tea. "He's not coming anytime soon." He laughs. "Probably not. He said one drink, which usually means 3. Evelyn smiles. A small, understanding curve of her lips. "Then I suppose I have company a little longer." Something about the way she says it, not as an obligation, but as a quiet confession, makes the air between them shift. They move from the kitchen to the living room. She insists he make himself comfortable, gesturing toward the couch as she dims the lamp beside her. The room settles into a soft amber glow, the kind that makes everything slower, gentler. The faint hum of rain begins against the windows, steady and calm. On the coffee table sits a photo frame. Daniel is a boy, missing front teeth, his arm wrapped around her waist. Her smile in that picture is brighter, fuller. Untouched by the quiet loneliness he now hears beneath her voice. She catches him looking. "He used to make me laugh all the time," she says, her voice almost wistful. "Now I barely see him before midnight." He nods, unsure what to say. There's comfort in the silence that follows, the kind that doesn't demand to be filled. To lighten the air, he jokes about Daniel's awful taste in music. She laughs, really laughs, head tilted back slightly, one hand over her chest. The sound is warm, honest, and when she looks back at him, her eyes shine with a softness that disarms him completely. You know, she says, you listen better than most people I know. He shrugs, smiling. Maybe you just have more interesting things to say. It's playful, but she holds his gaze for a heartbeat too long before looking away, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The small gesture feels heavier than it should, quiet, graceful, but charged with something unspoken. She leans back on the couch, crossing one leg over the other. So tell me, she says gently, what do you really want out of life? He hesitates. No one ever asks him that. Not seriously. But she listens, really listens, to every word, eyes steady, smile faint but encouraging. As he speaks, she leans her chin on her hand, watching him like she's memorizing every detail of his face. The distance between them feels smaller than before, the room quieter, their laughter softer. When he finishes, she says quietly, you remind me of someone I used to know, before everything got complicated. He doesn't ask who. He just nods. Outside, the rain grows heavier, and inside, the silence deepens. Not awkward, but full. He feels it, the gentle pull of connection neither of them meant to create. The clock chimes softly in the hallway. Daniel's still not home, and for the first time tonight, he realizes he doesn't mind. The rain hasn't stopped. It's fallen steady for nearly an hour now, a rhythmic whisper against the glass. The kind of sound that makes the world feel slower, smaller. The room smells faintly of tea and rain-soaked air. Evelyn lights a small candle on the table, its flame flickering like a heartbeat between them. Daniel still out? He asks softly. She glances at her phone, sighs. Looks that way. I should be used to it by now. Her tone isn't bitter, just tired. Like she said those words too many times to count. She leans back into the couch, legs folded neatly under her, eyes following the flame instead of him. It's strange, she murmurs. You spend years making sure everyone's comfortable. And one day you realize you've forgotten how to be yourself. He studies her quietly. The soft light paints her face in amber tones, warm, fragile, beautiful in a way that doesn't need trying. He's never been good at saying the right thing, but something in him aches to ease what he hears in her voice. I think you're just in a quiet chapter, he says carefully. Sometimes those are the ones that change everything. She turns toward him, eyes glistening faintly in the candlelight. For a second, she says nothing. Then a faint smile. That's a very kind way to put it. He shrugs, smiling back. Maybe kindness is underrated. That earns a soft laugh, a real one, but it fades quickly into a silence that feels heavy and honest. She traces the rim of her cup with one finger, the movement slow, distracted. My husband used to travel a lot, she says after a pause. And then one day he just didn't come back. At least not as the same person. The words hang in the air, fragile as glass. She looks up, perhaps expecting pity, but finds only quiet understanding in his eyes. I'm sorry, he says, his voice low. Her gaze lingers on him longer this time. Don't be. It's life. Just lonely sometimes. He nods. The space between them feels charged, not with desire but empathy. The kind that pulls two people closer without either of them meaning it to. When she shifts slightly, her hand brushes against his wrist. She doesn't pull away. Neither does he. The warmth is small, human, but it stays. I forget how nice it feels, she whispers almost to herself, just to be listened to. His throat tightens with something he can't quite name. You deserve to be, he says quietly. For a long moment, neither moves. The rain outside seems louder, like the world itself is holding its breath. Then she stands, smoothing her sweater, regaining composure. I should make more tea, she says, her voice softer now, steadier, but not the same. He watches her walk to the kitchen, candlelight flickering across her silhouette, and he knows something unspoken has changed between them. Something that can't be undone. even if no one ever speaks of it again. The sound of rain fades to a drizzle by the time she returns from the kitchen, carrying 2 glasses instead of mugs. The amber liquid inside catches the light, faintly glowing. "Tea breaks over," she says, smiling softly. "Thought we deserved something stronger." He hesitates. "Wine. Just a little," she replies, setting the glasses down. "To keep the rain company." He smiles and takes one. The glass feels cool against his fingers. She settles beside him. Not across the couch this time, but closer, as if the empty space between them has quietly shrunk without either of them realizing it. The television hums softly in the background, showing something neither of them are watching. Her perfume lingers, subtle, warm, like jasmine and late evenings. They talk about nothing and everything. Old movies, Daniel's terrible jokes, her garden, his work. She listens intently, sometimes teasing, sometimes thoughtful. There's a playfulness in her now, light and easy, like she's remembering what it feels like to simply be seen. When he compliments her cooking, she laughs quietly, eyes glinting with mischief. "Finally," she says, leaning a little closer, her voice lowering just enough to make his heart stutter. "Some attention for me." It's teasing, but the moment she says it, the air shifts. He looks at her, searching her face for irony, for some hint of humor to diffuse it. But her eyes hold his, steady, open, vulnerable. Not flirtatious, just real. He wants to say something, anything, but words don't feel right. Instead, he smiles, small, uncertain, and she exhales like she's been holding her breath. A strand of hair slips loose from behind her ear. Without thinking, he reaches out, hesitates, and she doesn't move. His fingers brush lightly against her temple, tucking it back. The touch is brief, polite even, but it leaves a trace of warmth that spreads faster than it should. For a moment, neither looks away. Then she clears her throat, breaking the spell with a soft laugh. "You're very polite," she says. "Was that a bad thing?" he asks, still half smiling. "Not at all," she replies, eyes dropping to her glass. "It's just been a long time since anyone bothered to be." The simplicity of her words disarms him more than any flirtation could. He studies her face, the lines of strength, the quiet exhaustion, the grace in how she carries both. Outside, thunder rolls faintly in the distance, like the echo of something about to change. She turns toward him again, resting her chin on her hand, eyes soft but unreadable. "You know," she says quietly, "you don't talk like most men your age." He chuckles. "That sounds like a compliment." "It is." Her voice trails off, but her gaze lingers, steady, searching, almost grateful. They sit there, saying nothing more. The clock ticks softly, the candle flickers, and the space between them hums with quiet tension. Not dangerous, not forbidden, just alive. And when Daniel's next message comes through, "Staying out a bit longer, don't wait up," neither of them rushes to end the night. The rain has stopped completely now. Only the faint hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the wall clock fill the silence. Evelyn swirls the last sip of wine in her glass, her movements slower, more thoughtful. "It's strange," she says, voice barely above a whisper. "How silence can feel heavier than words." He glances at her. "Sometimes it's safer too." She meets his eyes, and this time she doesn't look away. "Do you think we're being safe right now?" He doesn't know what to say. The question lands softly but cuts deep. She smiles faintly at his hesitation, as though she didn't expect an answer anyway. The soft lamplight catches on her features, the faint lines near her eyes, the curve of her lips as she exhales slowly. She sets her glass down, fingers trembling just slightly. He notices but says nothing. "I'm sorry," she murmurs. "I shouldn't." "Don't," he interrupts, his voice gentler than he intended. "You haven't done anything wrong." Her eyes soften, but there's something behind them, a quiet ache that makes him want to reach out and erase it. "You're kind," she says finally. "That's dangerous." He smiles weakly. "So I've been told." The silence that follows is different this time, thicker, charged. He can feel the warmth radiating from her even though there's still a few inches between them. The air feels too thin, the space too small. She shifts slightly, her knee brushing against his leg. Neither moves away. Her eyes flicker down, then up again, landing on his mouth before she catches herself and looks away. "I don't know what's wrong with me tonight," she whispers, almost to herself. "Nothing's wrong," he says, his voice low, calm. "You just needed to feel seen." Her breath catches at that. For a moment, she looks like she might cry, not from sadness but from recognition. She leans back, her hand covering her face briefly before dropping into her lap. "You're too young to understand what that means." He shakes his head slowly. "Maybe not. Maybe I just understand what it's like to feel invisible." That makes her look at him, really look. The tension between them shifts again, this time into something raw and quiet. She laughs softly, breaking the heaviness. "You have no idea how complicated this could be." He nods. "I know." Her hand rests near his on the couch, fingers almost touching. For a heartbeat, they both stay still, caught in the fragile balance between what they feel and what they know they shouldn't. The clock ticks again. She inhales slowly, steadying herself, then stands. "I should clean up." He watches her retreat to the kitchen, her composure returning with every step. But even from across the room, he can feel it, the invisible thread still pulling between them. Something unspoken has cracked open. Neither can name it, neither can ignore it. And yet, beneath the restraint, there's a silent truth neither dares to say aloud. This moment has already changed everything. The kitchen light spills softly into the living room, washing everything in a muted gold. Evelyn stands by the counter, rinsing glasses that don't really need cleaning. Her movements are methodical, controlled, like she's trying to wash something heavier than wine away. He rises from the couch, hesitating at the edge of the doorway. The faint hum of the refrigerator, the soft sound of water running. Everything feels too normal for what's been circling between them. "You don't have to clean all that right now," he says quietly. She glances over her shoulder, offers a small, tired smile. "It keeps my hands busy." He steps closer, the air between them carrying the faint scent of soap and jasmine. "Is that what you do when you're trying not to feel something?" The question hangs in the air like a held breath. For a moment, she freezes, then lets out a quiet laugh, soft but unsteady. "You ask dangerous questions." He leans against the counter, keeping a respectful distance but close enough that their reflections share the same space in the glass cabinet door. "Maybe, but I think you deserve someone to ask them." She sets the glass down slowly, her hands trembling just slightly. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I might start believing them," she whispers. The words slice through the silence like a sigh that's been waiting years to escape. She looks at him now, really looks, and for the first time tonight there's no guardedness, no pretense. Just two people standing too close, both trying to find their footing between right and real. He doesn't reach for her, but his voice softens. "I don't want to make this harder for you." She shakes her head. "You haven't. You've just reminded me I'm still human." There's no flirtation in her tone, no suggestion, just gratitude wrapped in exhaustion. Her eyes glisten, and when she exhales, her shoulders drop, as if she's finally allowed herself to let go of the weight she's been carrying. He moves slightly closer, just enough for their hands to brush on the counter. It's a light touch, deliberate, respectful, but the warmth lingers. Neither looks down, afraid the moment might break if acknowledged too soon. "Thank you," she says quietly, almost trembling, "for seeing me without asking for anything in return." He swallows, voice barely audible. "You've given me more than you know." The words settle between them like an unspoken truce, a recognition that what they feel doesn't need to be acted on to be real. She takes a deep breath, blinking away the emotion in her eyes. "Let's promise to keep this between us." He nods. "Not out of shame," he says softly, "but respect." She smiles at that, faint, bittersweet. "You really are too kind for your own good." The rain outside starts again, light and rhythmic. Neither moves, both standing in that small, golden kitchen, caught in a silence that feels like forgiveness. In that moment, they both understand sometimes love isn't about possession or pursuit. It's about recognition, and letting it stay unspoken is its own kind of mercy. The first thing he feels is light. Soft morning sunlight pours through the thin curtains, painting the living room in shades of gold and quiet gray. The faint hum of the kettle reaches him before the smell of coffee does. Rich, earthy, familiar. He blinks against the light, realizing he's still on the couch, the throw blanket folded neatly over him. He doesn't remember falling asleep, only that their conversation had faded into stillness sometime past midnight. Evelyn moves quietly in the kitchen, her voice low as she hums along to an old song playing from the radio. There's peace in her rhythm, the kind that comes after a storm. When she notices him awake, she smiles. That same gentle, unguarded smile from the night before, though now it carries something softer, steadier. "Good morning," she says. "You fell asleep before I could insist you take the guest room." He sits up slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. "Sorry about that. I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize," she interrupts, handing him a mug. "You looked peaceful. I didn't want to wake you." He takes it, their fingers brushing briefly. The touch is small, but it lingers. Not in tension this time, but in quiet acknowledgement. Gratitude. For a moment, neither speaks. The house feels different now. Lighter somehow, like the walls themselves exhaled overnight. Evelyn leans against the counter, cradling her own mug. "Daniel should be back soon," she says. "He texted early this morning." He nods, glancing at the framed photos again. In daylight, everything looks ordinary, the same hallway, the same smiles. Yet nothing feels quite the same. "I'm glad I stayed," he says finally. She looks up, meeting his eyes. "So am I." It's simple, but her voice carries depth. Not regret, not longing, but gratitude wrapped in calm acceptance. There's a quiet comfort between them, the kind that doesn't demand to be spoken. What happened, or rather what didn't happen, sits gently between them like a secret too pure to belong to the world outside. When the sound of a car pulling into the driveway breaks the stillness, they both straighten instinctively. She smiles, setting her mug down. "That'll be him." He nods, standing, unsure of what to say. But as he moves toward the door, she stops him with a light touch on his arm. "Wait." He turns. She steps closer, just enough that he can see the warmth in her eyes. She doesn't speak for a long moment, just looks at him, studying the quiet sincerity on his face. Then she smiles, small, real, a little sad. "Thank you," she says softly, "for reminding me what gentle feels like." He swallows, nodding once. "Take care of yourself, Evelyn." "I will." Daniel's keys rattle at the door. He steps back, gives her one last smile, and walks out into the sunlight. As he reaches his car, he glances back through the window. She's standing there with her coffee, eyes following him. Not with longing, but with peace. And for the first time in a long time, he feels the same.